Is it visible to you, Suresh, this slide?
Yes, yes.
Please go ahead and do the prayers.
वन्दे गुरुणां चरणारविन्दे सन्दर्शितस्वात्मसुखावबोधे जनस्य ये चाङ्गुलिकायमाने संसारहालाहल मोहशान्त्यै I prostrate at the lotus feet of all my gurus, which reveal the bliss of the self within, which are like the expert physician who alleviates the delusion caused by the severe poison of worldliness. Just one more. Madhya Hridaya Kashe Chidanandamayo Guru Udetu Satatam Samyak Ajnanatimirarunah. May the Chidanandamaya conscious being full of bliss, Guru, arise wholesomely in the sky of my heart, as the sun destroying the darkness of ignorance. Thank you.
Okay. So, yeah, good evening, everyone. The shloka I have today is Atma Tarhikaha Sachidananda Swarupaha. This is the second time we are coming across the shloka on Atma and we are discussing about it. So, the first time we came across it, I'll just go back for 2 minutes and come to where we are today. When we started learning about TattvaBodha, we first learned about the fourfold qualifications that the students need to have in order to start the inquiry of the truth. And after that, when we started the inquiry of the truth, the first thing that was said was Atma Satyam Tadanyat Mityaha, which means Atma is the only truth, everything else is an illusion. So from there, we started understanding what Atma is. And how did we do that? We did that by understanding what are all anatmas. And the more we disidentified with this anatmas, we understood the true self or the true nature of Atma. So, what were these anatmas? The anatmas were the shariras, Stula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Shariras, the three avastatrayas, which is, Jagrata state, the sleeping state, and the dreaming state. Then we also said that the panchakoshas are also anatmas. They are not what true atma is. Then, so what is the true atma? So the guru here is trying to help us understand that the nature of true atma is Sat, Chit, and Ananda Swarupa. So what is Sat? That part of you which was not bound by time, which existed before you came into this body, which is existing now, and which will exist even after the body goes away. All right. So something that evades time, that is Sat. What is Chit? Chit is something that is not bound by identities or experiences. When you see that part of you which is beyond something it calls mine or something it experiences, and it is just in a state of being, and this state of being is where it is able to look at your experiences, look at your identities that you have created, and is just an observer and a consciousness. right? So that part of you is the Chit. And when you understand that there is this part of you which is not bound by time, which is just in a state of being, and the more you move into this state, it brings you an experience of wholeness and completeness. When this is experienced together, that wholeness or that part is known as Atma, is what the Guru is trying to help us understand here. I think the details of this will be taken up by our friends here. Thank you.
Vedant, were you able to integrate it or should I present?
So I will present it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amma. So in case anybody has any queries, can ask her right now.
Yeah. So 16 Shlokas 16.2 talks about Sat Chidananda in separation. So Sat Kim Kalatraye Api Tishtati Iti Sat. So what is existence? That which remains unchanged in the three periods of time, past, present, and future. So if you really go back to previous shlokas, there's a beautiful example given about the moonlight. Now, this moonlight in a Purnima day, we appreciate the moon and say such a calming effect and such a beautiful moonlight. But if you really look at it, is it really the moonlight? Is the moon really generating that light? It's the light of the Surya. Now, if the moon for some reason disappears, doesn't mean that that light has got disappeared. Even if the moon is not there, the light will continue to be there. It's in a unmanifested way. So the light needs to have something to express itself. So that's the body of that moon. And similarly, even the consciousness is something that is always existent. Whether we are there, we are not there, or the body is there, not there, not we. The body is there or not there. And that is the truth. And that is why it is called as Sat or Satyam. And I guess, I couldn't attend the last session. So if this was covered, so if you really clarify that, moonlight is not the property of the moon. It is an independent principle which pervades and makes the moon bright. It is not limited by the boundary of the moon. The light extends beyond the moon. The light will continue even if the moon disappears, because it is not part of moon. When the moon is not there, and even though the light will continue, it will not be recognizable for want of the reflecting medium. It is unmanifest, but not absent. So we can apply the same thing for the consciousness. I think these have been done in detail earlier. So this is what the shloka talks about. Thank you.
Thank you, Suresh. Any questions people have on the Sat aspect of self. I'll just take a moment to kind of give a different perspective from what Suresh is coming. He's beautifully explained the example taking a moon, that it feels as if the light is coming from the moon, but the fact is the light ever existed. Moon is merely reflecting it. So light exists independent of the moon, and therefore that is Sat. Whereas moonlight is just a name that we are giving. Similarly, what he was trying to say, that there is consciousness which existed before the body manifested consciousness through it. Right. So we feel that when the day we were born is when the consciousness came. That's how science says. And through his example, what Suresh is trying to say, that consciousness ever existed, it manifested when the body was born. Right. There's another aspect of Sat, which also means the word substratum. So if you look at a desk, so the desk is nothing but a wood with a name and a form. Or if you look at any ornament, suppose you look at a bangle. Bangle is nothing but a gold with a name and a form. There is nothing called bangle. It's the gold. So gold is Sat. Gold is the substratum. Now when you melt the bangle, what appears is just a lump of gold. Right? So where did bangle go? Because bangle was never the Sat. What was the Sat is the gold. Now, the same lump of gold can now be converted into an earring, isn't it? So the same earring is nothing but the gold with a name and form superimposed on it. So across all the ornaments, what is the substratum? The substratum is gold. And what you see is the name and the form. Right? So gold is the Sat. Gold is the substratum. So what Upanishads are trying to say, that the entire world that you're experiencing is a name and a form superimposed on existence. There is something called an existence on which the name and form is superimposed, and therefore you see what it is. But everything is nothing but existence. Everything is nothing but Sat. Everything is nothing but Brahman. It's like everything is nothing but water, but because of name and form, it looks like a wave. Sometimes it looks like bubbles. Sometimes it looks like a froth. But everything is nothing but water. So everything around is Brahman, and Brahman is the Sat. That is the substratum. That is the underlying thing. Right? And everything is a superimposition on Brahman. So that's what the context is. And Suresh beautifully explained that there's nothing called a moonlight. It's the light reflected by the moon. So it's not that the body reflects, the body is the cause for consciousness. Consciousness is always there. When the body is born, it expresses consciousness. And that's why it is called Sat. I hope it is clear to all of you.
Can I add one more comment?
Please.
Yeah. And even if we look at ourselves, so we exist, we know we exist, right? And none of us have ever experienced us getting born or dying. So that is existence, right? Why we have not experienced birth or death of ourselves? Because there never has been any birth or death. We exist as Brahman, and we manifest in different ways and forms. Yeah, something to think. But yeah, that's how also you can kind of relate, or we can relate to it directly. Yeah, just that I wanted to add.
That's a very interesting perspective, Devesh. Honestly, haven't really thought through it, and there's an interesting point that you brought out, that I know for sure that I've never experienced birth, because the memories over there or the mind was not built up, and nobody can say they experienced death because nobody is able to recall what happens after death, right?
Yeah, probably because there we exist, right? We are Sat and unborn, and yeah, we never die. There's something to think about. Yeah, it's very difficult because it's not within our grasp in our body, but yeah, that's how we can directly relate to what Sat is, in a way.
Hmm. Thank you, Devesh.
Yeah.
Thank you, Suresh.
Thanks.
Anyone has a point to add or question to ask here?
That's a very interesting perspective. Even I've never reflected on that before, so it's very nice. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So I'll be presenting these slides on behalf of my team, Sapna and Asha. So since there's a lot of things we have already spoke about, can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Just give me a thumbs up. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So I'll try to explain everything as per my understanding, in as I have understood. So we'll start. So the disciple is asking, Chit Kim. So the guru is answering, Jnana Sarupa. So Chit Kim is what is consciousness. So the guru says it is Gyan Sarupa, it is the true nature of the absolute knowledge of our true self. That is what is Chit. When we know what is consciousness, the knowledge of consciousness is what is Jnana Sarupa. Okay, so can we go to the next slide? Okay, so before we move on to the actual content, I just want to do a little recap. We'll be able to relate to it, what I'm going to talk right now, later on in the last slide maybe. So I want to talk about, like, we know that, we consist of Sharira Triyam, and all the koshas and the avasthas and everything that we have gone through. But there is something that we have a little, like, we are wired to survive in a way that and our brain also function in a way that makes us help us survive through this lifetime. So our brain is wired in a way that which can see only say things which is necessary for survivals. So the things which is always available, which is there, we tend to not notice it. Like, if you remember in our earlier days of teaching, Bidan gave an example of space. Like, there was a slide and we were asked that, what do you see? And nobody said space. Like, we were identifying all the objects which were there. So space is always there, but we never acknowledge it. We never, like, realize that there is space. Or for example, like, we breathe. So we don't recognize or don't acknowledge, if we breathe, or we can only acknowledge that when we are having difficulty of breathing, or if we are kept in a closed space, then we realize, oh my God, that I'm feeling there's less of space or things like that. So the point of this explanation is that our brain is hardwired to survive and not notice things which is all the time available to us. So now we'll move into the shloka. So Chitta Kim, what is consciousness? Consciousness is the true self. But now that we have studied all the things so far, the shariram and the koshas and everything, then why do we say that consciousness is different from that? Like, we identify with our sthula sharira or the energy bodies, but why should we think that there is something else which is called consciousness? Why it is just my why it can't be just my body, which is the true self? I am my body, I am my mind. Why do I not think like that? So I'll just give an example here of the food. Okay, so the food we eat, it's the food which is a material, it's made out of elements, but is it sentient? No. So what makes it? But when we eat it, and after a day, or after a few hours, it's running in our blood. It has with all the physiological action and everything, it is running in our blood, and now it has become sentient. So how does it become sentient? There is something which is apart from these material or elements, which is made of 5 elements. There is something which is making it sentient. So what exactly it is? How do we know that? So the scripture says, Shariratrayam is material made out of elements. But Atman or consciousness is non-material. It is different from the Shariratrayam. So in the next slide, we'll understand more that what exactly it is. Yeah, so there is something which makes us all sentient. It's not identifiable through our sense organ and mind. It is the knowledge of light that makes us sentience. We'll try and understand it since we all relate with science, and it's easier for our brain also to understand. So we'll take an example in the next slide to understand it further, and we'll be able to relate it. So moon and moonlight, that we have already discussed by Suresh, but we'll try and understand it in a comparative manner. So if moon is my identified self, that we identify ourselves with our body and mind and everything, that we identify in a physical 3-dimensional world with ourselves, and the moonlight will keep that as consciousness, and we see like how it is. We'll try to explain consciousness through moon and moonlight example. So the light, we know that the moonlight is not actually moonlight. It is the light from sun, which is reflecting through moon. So what is moonlight? Moonlight is not part, product, or property of the moon. Similarly, life isn't product of the matters itself. You ordered this in Yeah, so life isn't the product of matters. So our body, so consciousness is something which is irrespective of any kind of body, any kind of we are fair, fat, long, short, whatever we are, the consciousness is reflecting. As we can take one more example, which we have seen before also, the example of electricity. the electricity reflects through different items, like, bulb or fan or refrigerator. But electricity is not the product or property of that bulb. Okay, bulb is there. The electricity is ever pervasive. It is there for that bulb also, for the fan also, and the fridge also. Now the moonlight, again, we'll go to the second point, is independent of the principal material. So the principal material here is moon, but the moonlight is independent. It's a different entity. It's a different product. So similarly, the electricity is different from the bulb or refrigerator or the television. Similarly, consciousness is also not part of my body. It is independent. It is a different thing. It is a different entity. And this light, so as Suresh also explained, that the sunlight, even if the moon is not there, sunlight is going to be there. It is not bounded by the presence of moon. So similarly, the Atma, the consciousness, always exists without any boundary. It is there in you, it is there in me. Even if we are not there, it will be there. So it exists without the body as well. Body, brain. Yeah. So the fifth point is it's ever pervasive. Chira Sharupa. It's beyond time and space and dimensions. So these are this is the example Guru is giving to explain that what exactly consciousness is. So understanding moon and moonlight, electricity, and the refrigerator relationship, we can still understand it. It's explainable because we have now references and from science, so our mind understand that. But with consciousness, the mind isn't that equipped to understand it. Can we go to the next slide, Bilal? So yeah, sorry for the alignment thing. So the conscious minus body and mind is an abstract principle for our mind to understand. As we understood in the first slide, that we are hardwired to survive and function in a way that it's functioning only for the survival. So our brain does not recognize. If you remember, like maybe 200 years back, or maybe maybe 100 years back, we couldn't recognize the frequencies. The science had not explained what is frequency or what is the how the things move. Like there is in this medium also what I am talking and how we are feeling, and everything is getting communicated in this medium. It is there, but we can't see it. My mind cannot, like, I know it because of the science has proven it through formulas and things, but I can't see it. My mind does not understand it per se, like it can't recognize. So but that is not the case with consciousness, because science has not reached yet there. Maybe in the future we will have something to, or maybe not. So it is unrecognizable because we don't have the capacity or medium or tool to recognize it currently in this dimension and with this body mind thing. Same as how the fan and bulb cannot recognize the electricity is this thing. So yeah, so the final truth, the actual truth is that we can only know that it exists, like how we know the moonlight exists through sunlight. now that we can see it, but the consciousness is such a bigger thing that probably we can't, our mind cannot understand. We can only know that I am Atma Asmi, or I am the consciousness. So even if we my brain stop working, but I will exist, the consciousness will exist, my consciousness in the holistic way, in the complete consciousness will continue to exist. Even if my body does not exist, I will continue to exist because I am the consciousness, and this is the true knowledge. Thank you. Any question?
Thank you, Varsha. Thank you so much. Any questions for her? Let's go to the next part. So what we have done so far is that we are trying to put where we are leaving. And saying my real essence is of Sat Chit Ananda, isn't it? So initially they all said that, hey, you are not your body, you're not your energy, you're not your emotions, you're not your beliefs, you're not your thoughts, you're not your memory, you're not your intellect, you're not even the bliss or the experience or your writings. So you're none of it. Then who am I? So they said, hey, you are the Atma. I said, okay, fine, I am the Atma, or I am the Brahman, or I am the Turyam, whatever name that we want to give it. Fine, I am that. Now tell me this me, which is none of the Panchakoshas, which is none of Avasthatraya, which is none of Shariratraya, or 3 bodies, or 5 koshas, or 3 states of minds, which is sleeping, dreaming, and deep sleep. So I am the experiencer, or I am the Atma, or I am the Brahman who is noticing, or he is observing, or who is witnessing. So now tell me more about myself. Tell me about me. Tell me more about Atman. So the text says that you are Sachidananda Rupa, right? You are Sat Chit Ananda. You have 3 different aspects. You can't even say qualities because quality belongs to a matter. So that is where the word becomes a problem. So they say, hey, you, the Atman, has 3 different aspects. The first aspect they spoke about was that you are Sat, which means that you ever existed, right? Sometimes you express through a body, sometimes there is no expressing medium. Just like a light sometimes expresses through a moon and feels like a moonlight. Sometimes when there is no moon doesn't mean to say that there is no light. There is light, but there's no expressing medium. So you are the Sat, you are ever present, you are beyond time, and you will sometimes manifest through the body and sometimes you're not manifest to that body. That's the first aspect they spoke about. And the second aspect, which Varshanjali beautifully explained, that you're the Chit. What is the Chit? Chit is my ability to know. I can know, or what does knowing means? Knowing just simply means that I'm the witness. I'm the witness to body, I'm the witness to my mind, I'm witness to absence of body and mind. So I'm the knower, right? So that's the second aspect they explained. The first, that you are Sat, then they said you are Chit. And the third aspect of who I am will now be explained by Kaushal. Is that okay? Are you able to get the holistic picture? Is it okay for all of you?
Yeah, I think, where's my teammate?
Yeah. So I would like to start by paying my respects to our gurus, Sri Adi Shankaracharya, Swami Paramarthananda, and Vedant. So Shloka 16.4 deals with the third aspect, that is Ananda. So the disciple asks, what is Ananda? And the answer is, Ananda is of the nature of happiness. What is bliss, basically? Or Ananda means bliss. So the answer is that bliss is of the nature of happiness. So Atma's true nature is bliss, and which is of the nature of happiness, is what it says. And Kaushal will explain the.
So I am audible, yes, to everybody? All right. I'll just quickly say the shloka. Anandaha kaha sukha swarupam, right? And Santosh already told us the translation of the shloka. So let's, I tried doing a little bit of some animation and stuff to get, so I might have to ask Bidhan, please keep clicking whenever I ask you. Yeah. So can we go to the next slide? Yeah. So, yeah, just keep this complete and boundless in mind, right? So because we are talking about absolute happiness. Okay. Click. Okay. So what gives us happiness? I just want to ask you all a few questions. So please unmute yourselves and, feel free to give me some thoughts, share. Okay. So what gives us happiness in our waking and dream state? Anything. I already got one answer up there. Nobody
When our
wants to-
desires get fulfilled.
Yeah. So wants, things, it could be anything, right? Okay. Maybe the new iPhone 15, who knows? Anything else? So could I put that in as things, maybe? Desires fulfilled. Okay. Could we do 2 more clicks? Yeah. And one more. Yeah, that's the one. So desires, right? That ... just about anything. We can fill up this list, right? So we could have, maybe the circumstances give us happiness, things give us happiness, people bring happiness forth, right, in us. So now, again, I'm looking at waking and dream state. Because if you remember, in the class, I think 2 weeks before, we talked about the Karana Sharira, and we talked about it being ignorance and bliss, right? There were the two characteristics of the Karana Shariram. So where is that bliss coming from, right? And we also talked further about how whatever happiness we feel in our waking and dream state also is drawn forth from the bliss that we feel through the Karana Shariram. So what is happening is, when we talk about happiness, we need to look at these two characteristics, two things no, wait, I'm losing myself. Hang on. We talked about Atma, and we're talking about Atma right now, and everything else other than the Atma is Anatma. We covered that portion? Yes. So we talked about our Sthula Sharira, we talked about the Sukshma Sharira, we talked about the Karana Sharira, we talked about the Panchakoshas. All of this are material world. Now, if we go to a store and buy something, say even if it's an iPhone, or it's something that does it say anywhere that contains 15% happiness? It doesn't, right? So happiness is not found in Anatma. It is not a property of this material world. But we somehow mistake it that these are the things that give us happiness. And that is something that we need to now overcome. And I really, really hope we do, because in the afternoon, I've been trying to spend time. I'm doing this since Monday. And today in the afternoon, 1 o'clock, I was sitting there and tears were coming down. And I was like, oh my God, we spent all this time being so utterly stupid. Because there is this thing that we are trying to find our happiness in the external world, but it is not there. The way the happiness that we are experiencing in our waking or the dream state, and the kind of bliss that we experience even in the karana shariram, please remember that however subtle it is still material. It is anatma, that it is being drawn from the atma, and that is the nature of atma. One of the nature is that it is ananda. So it's like those old transistor radios where you got to tune in, and then you get strong signals and kind of signals, and like really crackly kind of signals. So that's where we had these degrees of happiness that we had in one of the earlier shlokas, where you have Priya, Moda, and Pramoda. So you could be happy, you could be very happy, happier and happiest. But all of that is getting drawn from the Atma, because your signals are sometimes very strong, your mind is super happy, kind of settled down to a greater degree over some desire being met. So the signal is very strong, and the happiness that you feel is strong, and that is being drawn from the Atma. So that is one of the things. Could we go to the next slide? And then click, 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 click kind of a thing. Oh, I really hope. So stop. Yeah. So what are the characteristics of the happiness that we experience? So I think I kind of got all this through without showing you the slide. So sorry about it. What are the characteristics of happiness that we experience in the waking and the dream state? So we can say that it is incomplete. I mean, there are lots of adjectives that we can attach to the quality of happiness that we feel in these states, right? Other than the karana, ananda, no, the what is the last, the kosha? I forgot.
Anandamaya.
Andamaya.
Yeah, anandamaya kosha. That is the absolute bliss, right? Not absolute bliss, it is bliss. Yeah, because that's where your mind is all quiet. But in the other stage of having maybe incomplete, Bidhan, you can click, click, click until we get to the dots. Yeah, great. So these are the adjectives that you could attach to the happiness that you feel in your other states, in the waking state and the dream state. It's unpredictable. One day something is giving me happiness, the next day there was this time when I said, hey, I want to eat Manchurian today, and I was very happy after eating it. But the next 10 days later, I said I was happy when I had that Manchurian, maybe I'll have it again. And I did not get the same joy. So it's unpredictable, it's inconstant, it's impermanent. You can name it all. But the happiness that we know of the Atma is none of this. The happiness of the Atma is complete and boundless. So please keep that those two words, like complete and boundless, in mind, right? The next, this one. And then again, click, 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 please. Yeah. Some more. Is there more? Yeah. All right. So in the waking and dream state, happiness depends on known factors, unknown factors, internal factors, external factors, visible factors, invisible factors. I could be sitting and thinking of something, and that will bring me joy. So it's an invisible factor to others, but it's internal to me, right? So it's all of these are again degrees of happiness. They are not and they have all of these other characteristics. And so when we talk about the absolute and the complete and the boundless happiness of the Atma, we have to have something to have an opposite of what it is and what it is not, right? So when you do the comparison, it is not this, but it is this. All right. So can we go to the next one, please? Stop. So Anatma is not Ananda, because I don't know if you all have been able to assimilate that bit, that the Anatma part of it. It is the external world is Anatma, our body is Anatma, the mind is Anatma, even our Karana Sharira. It might be made of the most subtlest of matters, but it is matter, and hence it is Anatma. And it is established that Anatma does not contain Ananda, right? So you can click and finish up all of them, Vidhan. Thank you. So then, what is the source of Ananda? If it is not in this material world, where is this Ananda that we experience? It is the Atma. The happiness of the Atma is reflected in the mind. I am of the nature of Ananda, and my own Ananda gets reflected in the mind now and then under conducive circumstances. So, have I reached the end of it? Yeah. So, look within yourself, for boundless and complete Ananda. I think that's about it. Yeah. Okay. There's no more, right? After this? Yeah. All right. Any questions?
So beautifully explained, Kaushal. We could
Thank
see that Ananda coming from you.
Thank you. Thank you so
Right.
much. I really,
We-
I mean, there was a little bit of confusion, even though I tried my best to explain it a couple of weeks ago. I think I told also at the end that there's some confusion, is not resolved yet. And after doing this week, it was like, oh my God, I mean, really, how stupid could we be to think that, it's, these are the things that are giving us happiness. Oh, well, it was mind blowing, like I told you in my messages. But yeah, I really enjoyed. Please, if you have any questions, I'll try my best to explain. Or of course, Bidhan is here. So
I think the complete and boundless is the key, right? Which you kept on highlighting. Is when you identify yourself with that completeness, because that completeness and being boundless gives you that joy or the feeling of Ananda. Yeah.
absolutely.
Because that's our true nature.
Absolutely. And like Suresh, like Suresh also explained that, see, moon and the moonlight, all of that kind of can be, applied here also to all the three, Sat, Chit, and Ananda. That the moon is not happy of itself, but it's reflecting that Ananda, the light, right? So that's pretty logical also. I found it logical. I'm like, oh my God, how could we not know this before? It was just amazing. Yeah, understanding this.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And in like where somewhere I also read about this, like the other way around. Like, why do we want happiness? We want happiness now or tomorrow or day after tomorrow, all the time.
Yeah.
With one person, other person, or everyone. Why?
Yeah.
Because our true nature is of Ananda. That's why we are seeking it.
Yeah.
And when we go to, say, a mountain or sit near the sea, why do we feel that? Because we see the boundless ocean or majestic sky, and that's our true nature, right? We are kind of limited within our body, but when we try to identify with that boundless thing, we feel that like that the feeling of anand or the bliss. Why? Because we are boundless. And when we identify with the boundless, that's where we feel complete. And that's the ananda.
It's a good one too. Yeah, I never thought about that. Why do we feel that happy, right? Yeah.
Because that's our true nature.
Yes, absolutely. So
And
there
we
was
seek that.
yeah. there was this anecdote also that they mentioned in the commentary, which in my excitement I kind of forgot to narrate here. So please bear with me. So the great Muni Narad, and he goes to Sanata Kumara. Now I need to do research about who Sanata Kumara was, but he must be probably more learned or something than Narada. And he asks him, he tells him that I can travel at will. I have so much knowledge. I am this and I'm that, but why can't I find happiness? Where can I find it? And Sanata Kumara says that na alpe sukham asti, right? There is not even an iota of happiness in this entire world, externally or even in your body. It's not there. You have to look within yourself. So I mean, it was really good. Had a really good time doing this Ananda. I'm so glad I got this. Yeah.
Very well done.
Yeah. No
I
question.
I can feel so much ananda in your whole body now.
Thank you. I know, really. I mean, I've been like on cloud something. I don't know.
We can feel it. We can feel it.
It was like, oh my God, you know. And they took it so logically, that commentary, right? And I kind of like understood it all here. Everything is sitting neatly, and I might maybe a little be excitable and not have put it across as well. But yeah, maybe one or two readings of that commentary might really help to, you know, resolve all of your concepts also. So yeah.
So you have read Swami Paramatmananda's commentary, or you refer to something else also?
Who are you asking that to, Vidhan?
I'm asking you, have you just referred to Swami Paramatmananda's
This
commentary?
one source, the source
Okay.
that you shared with us, and I haven't. It just took me 3 whole days to. So you know, so I did not have the time to look elsewhere. But this itself gave me enough ananda. I was like, okay, strong signal, bus.
So
Yeah.
I'm glad that you took 3 whole days, because it can live with you for lifetimes, now and beyond. See, there's a difference between understanding and realizing it. What you have realized a bit of it, and this is where my life also changed a bit, because I used to always question that we have always been achieving things in our life, right? We have always been growing in some way or the other, and we feel happy, and happiness does not last, and then we run again against happiness. So what is it happening now? Why is this happening? So finally, when I was going through these sessions, I understood that there is one certain degree of happiness, this that you spoke about in the last session, right? And sometimes you feel extremely excited, sometimes you feel happy but calm. So you'll all experience, isn't it? Each one of you experience various degrees of happiness. Sometimes the happiness is like coming all over, too much of excitement, and your heart will be palpitating, right? Sometimes you're, as Devesh was saying, you just sit in front of the ocean and the mountain, and there's no excitement, but there is a sense of completeness, isn't it? I mean, you experience that, right? Mm, mm. So we sort of, and we can always put it on a basket of pleasant feelings. These are all pleasant feelings, nice pleasant feelings that we have, and you will see that when sometimes when your desire gets met, you feel happy. Sometimes even when your desires aren't met, say for example, when you sit in front of the ocean, not that you're wanting to see the ocean or the mountain, If you're looking forward to be in the midst of the mountain, you see the majestic mountain, you feel happy. That is excitement. But when you just sit in front of the mountain and see the infinity, that's was exactly why infinity pool was created, but that's become a marketing thing. As Devesh was explaining that when you experience the vastness and when you identify with this vastness, something settles down. And when something settles down, you sort of expand, right? That expansion makes you feel very different. You are again happy, but that's the highest form of happiness. But ultimately, what is happening in all of these cases, if you think very logically, as Kaushal explained, that in all the cases, your mind settles down. When your mind settles down, either your small desire gets met, you had a nice food, you buy a new iPhone, or when you identify with something vast and mind settles down, then your nature, which is Ananda, shines on a settlement. It's like the sun is always shining on the lake, but when the lake water is turbulent, the reflection of the sun does not come out quite well. But when the lake water becomes quiescent, then the sunlight gets reflected from the lake water, isn't it? Similarly, when your mind becomes quiescent, you experience that pleasantness, various degrees of pleasantness. Now, how does your mind becomes quiescent? Either by fulfilling your external desires or by identifying yourself with Atman or identifying with something which is expansive. And it's a matter of experience. I'm so glad, Kaushal, this is a very complicated subject, which you, with a lot of rigor, studied and explained. It's a very complicated subject. And I just hope that each one of us experience that once. Any questions on this? And very nice example you gave that when you buy a iPhone, it doesn't say you will get 15% happiness. Some people may get 50% happiness, some people will get 15% happiness. So one iPhone will give happiness at a various degrees to people. So iPhone is not giving you happiness. Something is happening in here. So instead of concentrating on iPhone, why don't we concentrate in here? And when we concentrate in here, then with or without iPhone, you will feel happy. And that is what Upanishads are talking about, that your real essence is of happiness. You don't need to depend on external objects, stuffs, relationships, situations to remain happy. You can work out of happiness. You can be happy and yet do your work.
And it even said it's just not a material external world, but it is the material internal you. I mean, a person might go to the gym and have a size 0 or have like bulging muscles and everything and have happiness today. But 10 years down the line, that same body is going to give you unhappiness. So it's the same thing. It's whether it is the external material world or the internal and the very intimate experience of the body, your own self also. Whatever said, it is all anatma and it does not contain happiness. It is not the nature of happiness. It's not of happiness, nothing, by happiness, nothing. And it is all, happiness can only be found in Atma. So I also was thinking further about then where do we, why do we have different all these other emotions, right? Sorrow. If we're looking at happiness and we say Atma is Ananda, then what is sorrow? What are all these other degrees of whatever other of that sorrow, sadness or disappointment, where do all of that come? So for me, I think, maybe it is me trying to come up with the explanation is that it is the absence of that ananda which is giving rise to these other emotions, and we name them. But for each of us also, it is all again a different kind of a description that this for me is sorrow or that for me is sadness. So it's very subjective kind of a experience. So yeah, it would need to be experienced. Ananda, yeah, and the absence of it.
So sorrow is subjective, but Ananda is not. It's absolute, I think. I think
Yes,
feeling of happiness is it's something recognizable by everyone. But sorrow might differ, yeah, probably.
right.
I think the whole thing about Ananda is that it's totally self-contained, self-sufficient, complete by itself. So
Yes,
it's not looking at any other facet.
right.
Anything else that's outside the sphere of that Ananda, I think is dependent on something or the other, getting affected all the times.
So how do we differentiate between these two feelings? One is of Ananda, which is complete by itself, and one is the happiness that I get when my desires get fulfilled. How do we differentiate that? How do you know whether we're experiencing Ananda or it's an excitement, which is dependent?
I think the happiness that we feel in regular life with everything, it comes with a lot of attachment. The ego self, the material world, the elements. But when we know that I am just experiencing it, it is like, I'm much more than this ice cream that I'm having, or I'm much more than just a quarrel that I'm having with this person. That's when your mind will calm down. That this is not just it. It is like don't associate too much with the incidents which are happening and the attachment that we are forming with the materials and the events. That's when we can I can say that that's the bliss for me.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
That way, the happiness felt even with the material things, whatever, is also actually coming from the same place. It's the Ananda. Only thing it's limited. That's all. It's not in its full expression. That's all.
Exactly.
Right. So yeah, and it's again when it's attached to that, it becomes temporary. So that's the only difference. But I mean, the Ananda as such is coming from the same place, I think, right?
Yeah. Ananda is coming
So,
from. Yeah, please, Prema, please go ahead.
no, the trigger in the two cases, I think, will be different. The cause. What could be the cause of impermanent happiness? And what could be the trigger for bliss?
Yeah, so that's the thing. When it's dependent on materialistic things, it becomes impermanent. But the Ananda that you feel is the Ananda which is the nature of the Atma. But only when it's based on the materialistic things, it becomes impermanent, and it's limited in its quality and quantity. So
Okay,
that's
but
how I understand.
there could be a situation where I mean, Ananda is triggered, let us say, due to a impermanent trigger. But I know that it is my it's not the bliss which it's not the bliss which I'm looking for, right? So that knowledge or that conscious feeling that this is not what it is, that itself could be a source of ananda also. I'm there in that zone where I'm experiencing the impermanence, but still it's with the knowledge that it is not coming from that source which I'm looking for. So that makes me more peaceful. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right? I can
Exactly.
distance myself at that point in time also, that from that experience.
It is a
So
constant
that
process.
yeah, so that can also be one way of probably looking at it.
To me, I feel it is a constant process because we live in this dimension and we have a brain which is hardwired to on the survival. So the need, wants, and desires are going to be there. It's only when we don't attach ourselves with that, which is also very tough because we are on that mode. Our brain is saying that if I have to live a healthy life, I need to have this house, or if I want to prosper more or have my generation this thing, so I have to accumulate certain things. But when I know that it is not the this is not the this is just the this is what is limiting me, it is it is more expansive than what I am focusing on. That's when I attain the bliss, and then move on to next thing and don't suffer uh and into that moment or in that event is what I feel.
I think that awareness itself helps at that point in time.
Exactly. And it will be, I think it is like a constant process. It will keep happening every day, in and out, with a lots of event. I can't say that, I'll attain a bliss, and that is not going to happen. It is a constant process, I feel.
And if I add on to that, is whenever we are happy or sad because of something, then it becomes, say, an impermanent thing. But despite of anything, if I am in that state, it is yeah, you can call it Anand, maybe just
Thank you.
Giving it a go.
Wonderful. That's a good one. Yeah. Of course. When you're saying we're happy or sad because of something, it's dependent. But we are happy inside. We're just happy because we feel unlimited. We feel unbound. We feel not identified with this body and mind, but we expand. It's the same example that you gave, Devesh, that if you sit in front of an ocean, why do you feel happy? I mean, what is there to feel happy when you see the beautiful mountain? Somewhere there's an expanse, and when you identify with the expanse, so Ananda is also known as Anantam. Just to put it across, right? They call Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. So what Anantam means? Unlimited, right? And Anantam leads to Ananda. So whenever you get identified by limitlessness, and this is visual, why do growth makes us feel happy? Say, for example, if you learn something new, it makes you feel happy. If you do good business, you feel happy. If you, any kind of a growth gives you happiness because it is expansion. Expansion gives you happiness. All right, we can talk about happiness in the next session. It's a beautiful discussion that we had today. And let me wrap up this session. Is it okay for all of you? Right, perfect. Let's do our prayers. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkhah bhave. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you so much. See you all next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you, everyone.
Thank you.
Vidhan, just one moment.
Thank you. Good night.
Sure. I'm there. Yeah.
Vidam, no, what I meant was now it is not possible every day for people to seek this very eternal bliss, very ideal bliss by going and having an or experience alongside the ocean or mountains. This is not, we have to live in this world. Every day we are facing challenges. So the day we realize that in every challenge, how do I find that bliss? That day, I think we have won some battle. That's what I meant. Right? Yeah, because we let us always relate it to our daily, life.
Right.
How do I win this battle every day in my relationships or in my activities, which I'm indulging in every day?
Perfect.
So even those moments where you can, just look at things differently and probably just put aside those impermanent things and not identify, that itself will lead to you're sowing the seed of some bliss there itself, I think.
Yes,
Right?
Prema, thank you so much. Yeah, of course, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to put some clarity into what I was trying to say. That's all. That's what I meant.
Of course, yes. So what we're going to do in next couple of sessions now, that we have covered the Jiva part. So it has 4 parts basically. It talks about what the qualifications that you need, what is Jiva, what is Ishvara, and what is Jagat. We have finished Jiva. So why don't we just kind of in the next session put everything together what we have learned and see how can we practically use these knowledge. Is it okay for all of you before we move into Jagat, because Jagat is going to be a little bit more complicated. Okay, let's do that. All right then. Thank you so much. See you soon.
We should for that we should have an offline meeting maybe. Will be a good idea.
Oh, it's been long that we haven't had.
Yeah.
Let's plan it out in the group if it's possible.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think you can come up with some dates and start the discussion.
Sure. Let's do that.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.